Hello, my name is Hilda Castillo, and tonight I'm here with Octavio Saez de Ibarra, the son of Daisy Maria Saez de Ibarra, an inductee of 2007 Marin Women Hall of Fame in the area of community service. Welcome, Octavio, and congratulations on behalf of your mother, Daisy. A wonderful woman that I met while she was working at La Familia Center. And I knew at the time that your mother was from Cuba. Mm-hmm. Could you please tell me a little bit about how her childhood was like?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. She was born in Hershey, Cuba, which was named after the Hershey plant. There was a sugar cane processing plant where her father worked as a buyer. And it was a little rural, but it wasn't, like shacks. I mean, it was a little smaller town. Like she had a pet pig. A pet goat. She had a pet goat, Peppa, for a while. And it was her and her sister, her brother, and her parents. And she always loved Hershey. She talked how beautiful it was, and she enjoyed growing up. She had a good childhood, at least what she told me.
Yeah, she seems a very happy person.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that I saw her, she really was a woman with a lot of energy, enthusiasm, and happy. Mm-hmm. She was. And I was wondering if it has something to do with the Latin American culture. Mm-hmm. Would you please explain that to me a little bit?
Well, she was a very strong woman in a quiet way, if that makes sense. And so was her mother, my grandmother, Rosa, too. She was very independent. And I don't know if I want to say this was not typical for the time or whatever, but she was definitely, they were definitely very independent women.
You said that she was a very independent and strong woman.
Yes.
And I am aware that she went to the university in Cuba to pursue her career as an attorney.
Yeah, she went to the lawyers' college. Yeah, and she was an attorney.
In Cuba?
Yeah, in Cuba, yeah.
Can you tell me, if you know, who were the people who inspired her?
Well, the funny thing, I was talking with my father earlier, and she didn't have like one role model, but Dad was talking earlier about a teacher she had that was blind, and she was very inspired, or she was very amazed just how he did everything, but he was blind, of course, but he was a real inspiration for her. And she had a group of friends that were in the lawyers' college, and they I think they inspired each other because she didn't have like one role model specifically. So.
And did she have the opportunity to practice law in Cuba?
She wasn't a trial lawyer. She had the degree and she worked in the public defender's office, but she wasn't a trial attorney. So she did work in the public defender's office. Yeah.
For how long did she work?
She worked. That was. Mom, the 50, do you remember? 50, 52 till 59, almost a decade, right? Yeah. She left, she just left because when Castro came into power and they started asking them to do things that one thing she told me that I still remember is that they wanted her and other people to go to these teenage kids that were being put on trial, and Mom, and they weren't told why they were put on trial, but they wanted them to go to the courthouse and to yell at the parents of the mothers and fathers of these children, and she wouldn't do that. They were just told to do stuff like that. Once there was anti-government graffiti written on the wall, and everyone was called in, and that was her final straw. She left, and she never went back. And soon after, she applied for the visa. She came over to Miami by herself, and then a few months later, Dad came over.
As I said before, I knew your mother was from Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
and I know she was very proud of it. Do you remember any of her memory when she was talking about her life in Cuba? Can you explain a little bit more, expand a little bit more about her life in Cuba?
In Cuba, a woman will keep both her parents' names when she marries. So Mom had a very long name. Mom's full name was Daisy Maria Modesta Cuervo Rodriguez de Saez de Ibarra. Officially, but of course it was Daisy Maria Saez de Ibarra. Daisy was what she went after. But all her memories, she always got upset at American cinema and certain people that portrayed Cuba as all gangsters and prostitutes. When she was very middle class, she worked in a public defender's office. She was a lawyer. My father worked at the bank, the National Trust. They and everyone else had a great regular life. They went to the movies. They loved baseball. They had a passion for baseball, and she was very mild, very even-tempered. But she could get really upset when people stereotyped Cuba as just gangsters or prostitutes or something like that. It was funny.
When the family made the decision to move to Cuba, from Cuba to Miami.
Yeah.
Do you remember how was life in Miami during those years?
Yeah, it was very tough. There was a huge influx of refugees in a very short time, and jobs were really hard to get. My father worked as in the cafeteria as a busboy, which was like the best job he could get, but it wasn't enough to go anywhere, to pay anything. And at the time, churches, the Presbyterian Church, the Catholic Church, and some other 3 or 4 different denominations and different faiths sponsored families from Miami all over the country. I think we almost went to Michigan. But they chose California. The First Presbyterian Church here in San Selmo was our sponsor.
Ooh.
So that's how we ended up going from
to-
Miami all the way
to-
across country to here, to San Selmo, which is where just downtown Tamalpais was the house. And they got they got us a rental, a duplex rental. They got my father a job at Marin as a job which he started as a busboy and eventually became a waiter and stayed there for 35 years. 37, excuse me. 37 years he stayed at Marin and then my mother, when I was a little older, she started teaching Spanish and doing...
How old were you when you arrived to
I was
California?
11 months. 11 months? 10 or 11 months.
Wow.
So I don't remember Cuba.
I see.
All I know of Cuba is what my parents have told me in pictures. I wanted to go back with both of them, but they won't go back now. So someday I'm going to go back, and or maybe I should go back to what she started. So when we got here, my father worked at Marin Joe's. She started teaching Spanish, which was a natural thing for her to do. So she substituted substitute teaching. She taught all in Marin County and in College of Marin. And eventually she was one of the co-founders of La Familia Center, which was the Latin outreach program here in San Rafael, which you know her,
Yes, yes.
which you know very well. And there they did everything. They helped. They worked with seniors, getting jobs, education, English as a second language, housing. Domestic violence, everything was covered, and it always seemed like Mom was doing a little of everything, at least to me. But she always was big on like the parties or festivals for birthdays, for people who were pregnant. She always organized those things. And I think it started in La Familia on Jose Martin's birthday, who was the Cuban playwright. I'm sorry, the Cuban poet hero. Whenever a baby who was born on or near his birthday, that they would give the family, a room full of baby needs and toys and stuff like that. And she organized. I think it started then, and it kept going even after La Familia for a while. She did things like that. She always the celebration that
Nacimiento de José Martí.
the
José Martí.
right, the birthday of
Nacimiento.
Jose
Birthday.
Martin every year, and again that was to remember the Cuban heritage, to celebrate. It was always there. She always she made sure it was there.
She worked for many years for the county.
Like 14 years.
Yeah,
for
and
the
she
county.
did it again. She was helping. She was educating immigrants in how to apply for services.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, she worked for the county of Marin, the Health and Human Services for, I think it was 14 years total. First at the Civic Center, and then they
At the
moved
Civic
them
Center, yeah.
Across from Smith Ranch Road. But she was translating and helping people who get services, health services, welfare, medical. Again, it was the same. There's like a repetition of every job she had was always doing the same kind of helping people who needed help in this country, who were sometimes very new to this country and needed to help to get along.
It's my understanding that Daisy helped a lot of women during her all life, and specifically during the time that she lived here in the United States. Do you have any idea what was her motivation to be able to help others?
Well, she when she first came to America, it was 1960. They were fleeing communism, and when my mother came first, and then my father a few months later, and in Miami, there were a lot of people helping all the refugees. There were English classes, health classes, job counseling, housing. When she got there, they took all those. There were shots for me, and vaccines and all that. And so when she came here later in the 70s, she basically did the same thing for other generations of immigrants and people who needed help. To me, it was like a full circle kind of thing. What other people helped her in the 60s, in 1961, she helped here in the 70s. She always had a sense of doing the right thing, so to speak. So it really came naturally.
I know that a lot of people that she helped appreciate Daisy for encouraging them to go to school, to learn English. And I know that there is a story about a young woman who was pregnant when she came to ask Daisy for help. And Daisy helped this woman, and then she had the baby. Then after she had the baby, she helped her and the baby, and she went to school. And when the daughter, the baby, became a teenager, the mother came with her to ask for help again, and Daisy encouraged the daughter to go to school and to pursue to become a nurse. And that is what that young woman did. And today, she is working for one of the hospitals here in Marin County. The mother is working also in a hospital. And so thanks to the encouragement that Daisy gave them, today they are professional people.
Yeah, no, that worked out very well. And also, what am I going to say? There's also a friendship too that the daughter had with mom, and a respect. And she was a great role model in that sense. That she was like a counselor that they both came to and got advice and went on. They're both very successful. And she was also, to a lot of other, in the 80s, there was another group of refugees from Cuba. And there was a group here that came, and she was like the mother figure to them. They were all guys. There were like 5 or 6 guys. And some of them did very well and have their own businesses and houses. And a couple of them, slipped through the cracks. But she did her best to help guide them. And they always... it was like she was like a second mother to them. It was that kind of feeling, and she's
Do you remember the most difficult time of her life, or any challenge that was that she had to deal with?
Well, unfortunately, I was too young, but it was coming to America. Both my parents spoke limited English, and they left everything behind. Especially at that time, it was much stricter. Once you left, you left. So they took, it was like, I think 70 pounds of luggage, a suitcase, 70 pounds or less, me, and some family, her mother, and just coming to a whole new land and leaving everything behind and starting over and people do that all the time. It's amazing to me, the strength that people have when they have to. They're starting a new life, and they do. And to me, that was the most difficult part. She never felt quite at ease here either. There was a lot of Cuba was always there. There was always a longing to go back, but.
And again, I understand, and I know that she helped a lot of women and young women in pursuing higher education. I know too that she encouraged especially new immigrants to learn English, because she knew how important it was for new immigrants to learn English. Do you know any words of wisdom that she had that to encourage women, and especially young women?
She didn't have like a phrase, or it was more her personality. I think you said before, her positive, like, yes, you're going to do this. You need to do this. And she had a very soft-spoken way that helped. That wasn't oppressive. If you talked to her, it was very easy talking. So she could inspire people underneath instead of forcing something on people. I think it was more her way, her style, than any specific saying or phrase.
I am aware that she was very loved by members of the community, people she worked with, friends, and people in the community really appreciated what she did for so many people. Do you know what made her happy in her adventures?
Mm-hmm. It was family. Family and friends were very important to her. Every Christmas we had an open house where people came over she cooked food, people brought food. It was all afternoon into the evening. People would just drop by. It became a tradition. That's the only thing that that is the thing that made everything worthwhile. Knowing that people did advance, they did buy homes, they did get jobs, they fell in love. That it wasn't it wasn't money, it wasn't a certain status or a certain degree or anything. It was the people, which ultimately became family, friends.
Do you have any message on the name of your mother that you can send to young women, especially today world where there are so many difficulties for them to go to schools and to finish school? What would you say to them?
Well, she did things because she needed to do them. I mean, she was, at the lawyer's college in the late 40s, early 50s. She didn't let other things stop her. So you should go go for your dreams. You don't need to let other people stop you. You can do it. You can do what you need to do, because she always did. And also, I think it's interesting that she was never like the president or the leader of any group or anything. She was always a very important player. And I think it's a really important message that you don't have to be the top person. You don't have to be the president. You can make a big difference just wherever you are, in whatever role you're playing. Being a team player, all that stuff. But just doing what you can where you are, she was always like that, and that makes a big difference in the end. You don't have to be the showy player. You can just be, do your work kind of thing. Because she never stopped working.
I am sure that it was very difficult for you when Daisy passed away, and I would like to know if you can tell us memories that you have about that difficult day, and when a lot of people were coming and calling and asking you, and your mother wasn't there anymore.
Mom passed away last October the 2nd. The interesting. When someone passes away, you find it shouldn't be surprising, but it's just amazing how many people just call or come out, and you just. It's amazing how many people that one person can touch in their lives, and I'm sure this happens to a lot of people. But I was just shocked at the amount of response of people who came to the memorial, or who always or called, or just the connection they felt. Even people that she had limited conversations with, there was a connection that she had, and people from all aspects of her jobs and ex-students. It was amazing.
On the name of Marin Women Hall of Fame, I want to thank you for sharing with us and the wonderful things that your mother did, and all the support that she provided to so many women in need. And definitely she was a role model, and she will continue being a good role model for many women. Thank you very, very much. You were very lucky to have the mother that you had. Thank you.
Thank you.